For the last page of notes on inverses, we're going to talk about this horizontal line test. So remember, if a function, or if a relation is a function, it passes our vertical line test. So that's where you can take a vertical line, and as you go across the graph, it does not cross more than once. So that is a function. Here we have another function that doesn't cross twice. Now, to see if a function is one-to-one, we're actually going to do a horizontal line test. So we'll do the same thing we did with our vertical line test, and we check to see if it crosses more than once. In this first function, our cubic function, it passes the vertical line test. So that means the inverse of a cubic function is a function. However, in our quadratic, it does not pass the horizontal line test. So although our quadratic function is a function, the inverse will not be a function. So it's not one-to-one. Alright, so let's look at some of these graphs. This very first graph is our quadratic function. So that tells me it's quadratic. And then we have a couple of transformations. That -3 tells me we're shifting the quadratic parent function right 3. And then that +2 tells me we're shifting the graph up 2. And remember, the order is important. Always do left and right first. And then up and down vertical shifts are always going to be last. Alright, so the parent function of a quadratic if x is 0, x squared is 0. So we normally start at 0, 0. We're going to take that and we're going to shift it right 3 and then up 2. So this is our new point. We no longer have that point 0, 0. The parent function, when x is 1, 1 squared is 1. So we normally have a point here at 1, 1. We're going to shift it right 3 and then up 2. So our new point is here. Alright, and then another point would be at -1, 1. -1 squared is 1. So we start at -1, 1. Move it right 3 up 2. And then we can do 2, 4. It's another point on our parent function, which is normally here. So we're going to shift that right 3 and then up 2. And then we can do -2, 4, which will shift to there. Alright, so here is our new function. And we need to determine if the inverse is a function. So we know the original is a function, but we need to know if the inverse is a function. So we're going to check with our horizontal line test. Notice when I draw a horizontal line, it crosses in more than one spot. So we cross here and here. So the answer is no, the inverse is not a function. Because it fails the horizontal line test. And by it, I mean the original function fails the horizontal line test. So because the original function fails the horizontal line test. Okay, we can do the same thing here. The second example is the absolute value function shifted up 4. So normally we start at 0, 0. We're going to go up 4. And then we know this is our V-shape absolute value. And you can do the points individually if you want to. I'm just trying to save us some time. Okay, so here's the function f of x. And now we need to know if the inverse is a function. So we're going to look at a horizontal line. And we see it crosses twice. So the answer is no. The inverse is not a function because the original function fails the horizontal line test. Alright, and this last one is going to be a linear function with a slope of -1 and a y-intercept of -5. Or we could look at this as the parent function, y equals x, shifted down 5, and we have a reflection here. Either way, you'll get the same graph. So, starting at -5, and then we have a slope of -1. So you can think of it as down 1 over 1. And here's our linear function. Right, and then a horizontal line. If I take that line and I move it, sorry to move just that part, and I move it up and down, it's not going to ever cross twice. So the answer is yes. The inverse is a function. Because the original passes a horizontal line test. So we're really checking to see that y doesn't repeat. Because in order for it to be a function, your x's can't repeat. When you have your inverse, you switch x and y. So that's why we're looking for y's repeating. Okay, now that you've seen these last page of notes, I want you to attempt the assignment, which is going to be the day 2 of inverses. I want you to finish that assignment before you watch the next